That's Reince Priebus, who is going to be Donald Trump's chief of staff. Stephen Roberts, ABC News political analyst, joins us. Stephen Roberts, good morning. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, McGraw.
It's hard to determine what's news and what's hype with the confirmation hearings going on. How much of a story is it that they're moving so fast that they can't get vetted by the ethics office? How big of a story is that?
Well, I think it's an important story because the fact is that many of Trump's nominees are very wealthy with long ties to business. And there are significant potential conflicts of interest. So the Democrats have a legitimate role to say, wait, let's slow this down and make sure that we have all the information. But that's not really what this is all about, McGraw. What this is about is the Democrats trying to find a role in the new Washington where they control nothing. They don't control the House, the Senate, the White House. The one place where they have any leverage at all is the U.S. Senate because they have 48 seats there, and on future legislation they can stage filibusters. Now, they cannot, by law, filibuster cabinet officers. But what they're trying to do this week is send a message to the new president saying, you have to take us into account. We're not going to be pushed around. We're going to ask tough questions. We're going to demand answers. And we count in the new Washington. And that's really what this week is all about.
Kind of like the way Mitch McConnell tried to do it 8 years ago when the Republicans were on the outside looking in.
Yeah, it's a good analogy. You know, power comes in many forms in Washington. Some of it is very tangible. You get to, as president, you get to veto a bill. But other forms of power are intangible. How do you build an argument? How do you make your opponents fear you and worry about you? And this is not just about legislation. In some ways, what this is really about is the coming fight over a Supreme Court nominee. Cabinet officers come and go, and there's a long tradition of cabinet officers serving at the pleasure of a president, and a strong presumption that a president gets to pick his own assistants and associates within some limits. Judgeships are different. Judgeships are for life. They extend far beyond often the life of the president who picks them. Antonin Scalia, who died last year, served for 30 years. His influence lasted far beyond the tenure of Ronald Reagan, who picked him, McGraw. So what the Democrats are really trying to do in the next couple of weeks is say to Donald Trump, when you pick a Supreme Court nominee, remember, we have the power to cause you a lot of trouble if you pick someone too extreme. And that's what I think that's what this week is all about.
Stephen Roberts, there are some people who are starting to hedge their bets on the Affordable Care Act, and it looks like maybe day one they're not going to do away with it. What's going on here?
Well, what's going on here is that for all of the criticisms of the Obamacare, many of which were legitimate, there are also enormous benefits that you have millions of people who have insurance who never had it before. You have families who can keep their children on their policies up to 26. You have people who can get insurance because they can't be barred because of pre-existing conditions. For all the criticisms, what Republicans are now confronting is that if they do away with Obamacare, this is a very important benefit to many of the people who voted for them. So it's easy to sloganize. But when you come down to politics and you come down to policy, McGraw, there are often far more complex questions than you can put in a 140-character tweet or a bumper sticker. It's easy to say repeal Obamacare. It's a great slogan. Practically, you have to take account of the enormous damage you can do to a lot of families if you do that unthinkingly. And that's why when it comes down to actually enacting these slogans, people are being a lot more cautious.
So do you think they're going to have the guts, or are they going to walk to the line and then back off on this Obamacare?
I think it's going to be a muddied picture. I think that they will have to repeal some elements of Obamacare because they have campaigned so heavily and publicly on that issue. For instance, I think one of the provisions that the Republicans always hated is the mandate that individuals have to buy insurance, or they have to pay a penalty.
But hold on a second. But you know that you can't have it. You can't buy flood insurance the day after you get a flood.
Exactly. This is why, over all of these years, as every actuary, every economist has tried to figure this out, even historically, many conservatives, many Republicans, many think tanks, conservative think tanks, understood that an individual mandate was absolutely essential to make the economics work, because if only sick people bought insurance, the system would collapse. So that's the great challenge for Republicans. How do you keep some of the provisions of Obamacare that people really like? Another example is the expansion of Medicaid. In many states, in fact, a number of Republican governors saw that this would be an enormous benefit to their own people. Governor of Tennessee and many others defied sort of the national campaign slogans of Republicans and actually enacted important elements of Obamacare. So it's going to be a very complex picture where I think Republicans will try to repeal some of the more onerous provisions, but they're going to be forced by economic and political reality to keep a lot more of Obamacare than they ever promised.
Stephen Roberts, ABC News political analyst. Good. Thanks for checking in. Have a good week.
Always a pleasure, pal.
758 KTRS.
Homeowners insurance, how can I help you?
My air conditioner broke down. I need to make a claim.
Oh, I'm sorry, but your homeowner's insurance doesn't cover air conditioner breakdowns.